going to follow. And so Petal first picked this time from Team Solo Mid. It looks like we're just in the Petal meta because she is coming through all the time now in North America.
I mean, this is challenging Gankstars now too, because if Gankstars has a counter prepared, they can go for it right now. You won't have a better chance to go for it when it's first picked, especially on A side. You have your entire 3 picks and your entire composition to try and counter it. So if Gankstars has a counter for it, they can go for it and they can perhaps take a game off of TSM. The only thing is that it can still be flexed into the jungle. Teams need not to forget that, because if you try to counter the weapon power Petal and then goes into CP jungle, that might not work well for you.
Well, Gangstar's going to start this draft off with a Lance pickup for themselves. That's likely going to go into the hands of MacDaddyB, but we have seen that flexed around the map, mostly over in Europe, but it's definitely a possibility still here in North America.
Yeah, and I like the Lance into the Petal because there is so much burst there and so much potential. If you lock down the Petal, if you hit her with an Impale, then Petal should just be dead before she can move again. It's a situation where that low health pool that Petal has comes into effect. It's obviously not the easiest thing to be able to lock down the Petal because Trampoline is available, but if you can catch her out, then you can go a long way towards shutting her down.
We'll see if that's going to be a situation they manage to pull off. Only 10 seconds left in bonus time right now for Gankstars, and they're only just onto their second ban. Batiste will be taken off the table despite the Catherine ban. It's kind of an interesting ban coming out there from Gankstars.
They're definitely taking their time, and that to me is definitely directed at Von C. It doesn't make too much sense just because Von C hasn't played it too much this season. He's had different picks that he's went for, the Ryan, the Cruel, the Lance Jungle even when they wanted to play around the best Chuck Celeste. So perhaps they wanted to go for the Cruel and they don't want to go up against the Baptiste. We'll wait and see. The Scarf ban is a really good ban just because it's directed at Lulugio as one of his best picks, and the Scarf works actually fairly well against the Petal, even the weapon power Petal, because you have a huge range advantage. So I like the Scarf ban, and it's going to take it away from him.
Alright, well, Arden will be locked in, which means that this Lance is very likely going to be heading towards either the lane or the jungle. Curious to see where that does end up going. But it also means that this is likely going to be leaning towards something like a Celeste as a final pick for Gankstars now that Petal's been picked up for TSM.
Yeah, there's a lot of options for the for Team Solo Mid to round out their composition. Obviously, the captain pool is a little bit dry, but you do still have, you mentioned the Finn. You could go with the Fortress as a captain, but this is actually pretty smart by Gankstars to just take away so many of these different captains and say, you know what, we're just going to force you into a certain play style.
I mean, I think Finn is still open for TSM, and it's a hero they played before and a captain they played before to great success. And if not that, Lyra is still open. That's another extremely strong hero still, even in this update. So taking away the Arden, and if that Baptiste was actually directed towards Flagshacks to not give him that captain, I think it was a wasted ban. And if Gankstars are trying to go for the Celeste last, that could work for them as a really strong composition just because Lance and Arden can protect Celeste really well. The only thing is, against Petal or Rhyme, it might be too difficult because there's too much aggression coming out early and mid-game.
Yeah, not to mention with the fact that there is a Rhyme, you need to get something that's ranged but also kind of durable, because if the Petal just jumps past the Arden, past the Lance, all of a sudden it becomes very difficult. So the Samuel coming out as the final pick, this is going to be a pretty rough game, I think, for Gankstars because of the composition Team Solo Mid has.
So TSM, they've gone with the Petal and the Ryan once again. We saw this from them in Game 1. On the other side of Gankstars, it's like this protect the hyper carry composition, except with a Samuel, which is not historically
without
a hyper carry.
So I actually might think this might be a Lance lane weapon power to counter the Petal coming on Lulugio. It's not a hero that I've seen him play too much, and it's not a composition I've seen Gankstars play too much, so it's a little bit iffy for me. TSM definitely has a really strong comp.
We'll see how this one's going to be pulled out. Whether Gankstars have got a trump card up their sleeves in this one. Hashtag Vainglory on Twitter. Let us know who you're supporting. It's time to jump into Game 2 of the series and pass it back once again to Jaws and Denominate.
Thank you very much, Munch. It's us here once again, and they're going to need a trick up their sleeves because TSM right now have them on the ropes. Gankstars, they want a point. They just want some points to put on the board. TSM right now, they're looking to move, to their third seed, to Battle Rogue, to Battle Cloud9, and it's looking all too good for them right now.
It absolutely is, and this is something we haven't seen in quite some time, is a lane Samuel, and Lulu has actually even started with a book of eulogies looking for that sustain against his petal early. Mac Daddy was looking to maybe contest here, but doesn't look like he's going to. In fact, he's dropping pretty low off the back of that Flask. Already burned out, Joss, and that is not a good position for the side of Gankstars to be in to lose out on that early.
Absolutely not. They do, however, at least contest them and know where they're about, right? They know at least Best Chuck isn't insta pushing that top that wave up in the lane. However, Mac Daddy B wasn't able to steal away the Elder Treant. However, Gankstars are going for the small roam here. Xenotic is level 2, mind you. There goes the Impale, does root up too. Githian Wall is only going to hit Best Chuck, and that's actually TSM turning this one around. No cooldowns on Xenotech. Will result in a little bit of damage going Lulu's way. Small little duel, I can't imagine will result in all too much, but putting the pressure on early is exactly what they did last time, and it worked out well for them in the early game.
Yeah, it did. I'm not sure about the Samuel pick here, Jaws. I mean, during that last game, it really seemed like Lulu on the Kestrel was the biggest threat at most parts of the game for TSM, at least for that pedal. Now, Xenotech on the Samuel was, making short work of Flash in that front line, but he never really got himself in a position where he was able to threaten Best Chuck. Obviously, those Munions will soak up some of those Malice and Verdicts, so it'll be interesting to see how Lulu is able to pull this one off. Overall, I do like the tankiness of the jungle. I don't like the composition altogether because the Samuel just feels so weak against Petal.
Well, they were saying on the desk that it's a composition to build around a hyper carry, but that hyper carry in this instance is this Samuel. It's not like a Kestrel that's going to absolutely ravage your team later on, and they just want to get it snowballing. It's not like a Celeste either. They've got a Samuel who, yeah, he's come up into the lane. He's got the Book of Eulogies, looking to just sustain against Best Chuck, which is going to be fairly hard because Flash X is going to be there as well, realistically. I mean, we'll have to see how it does play out because Best Chuck, he's on that weapon power pedal again. This is seeming to be a norm for TSM. They just want Best Chuck on a hyper carry, like a Celeste, like a weapon power pedal, and it all works out for them every single time they play, and they put this onus on him. And Vonsi, he's on this rhyme again. I mean, what can I really say from here? They took the Lance away from Flash X. Fine, we'll just play Lyra. We'll just sustain our carries through the team fights instead this time.
Yeah, Lyra was one of Flash's big picks back in summer, so we know this is something he's comfortable on. Now, I do think that Lance has some decent interactions with Von C on this Rhyme. Obviously, Rhyme wants to stick to targets, and the additional crowd control that Xenotech is going to be able to provide, the ability to provide more distance for Lulu, will be a tool that they have to use effectively. Again, I'm just worried about Best Chuck on this pedal. This pedal pick has been absolutely so dominating. A huge root comes through.
Hello, huge root gets him. Githian Wall slams him into the turret as well. Doesn't quite manage to finish him off. That quick sigil from Flash X has managed to save him in the end.
Yeah, and Flash definitely, really one of the best roamers in North America. Maybe shy of some Gabe Bizzle action. We know what a beast Gabe is, but Flash definitely doing good work here in both Game 1 and in Game 2. So obviously this Lyra pick able to heal Best Chuck up, forced so low, and he didn't even have to recall. So that's going to make Best Chuck not miss out really on any of this CS, but Gankstars is not done.
Oh, they go for the Impale again. They get to Githian Wall on Flash X, but he pops the flash just in time. Von C's on the back line, though, dealing with your carries. Lulu is going to fall. Mag Daddy B on the retreat as well. TSM are encroaching. Can't quite find the Spires. He is fairly tanky, but 3 members of TSM are just going to be able to chase him down. Fantastically played team fight from TSM. Flash X escaping with an inch of health.
And this has been the story of this series so far, as Flash is constantly getting dropped to little to no health and somehow manages to make it out, and his team's able to turn it around. 2 kills now going over to Team Solo Mid. Obviously that first blood bounty as well going into Von C's pocket, but we do also have to look at the health of this turret in the lane. Gankstars may have lost out on 2, but they got a lot of damage down on that first objective. So on this next push, that turret is going to go down very quickly.
That it is, and exactly what they want to prioritize now. It does look like they're putting a lot of pressure up in this lane. Bestchuck, he's got the range though over Lulu. That's the trampoline usage. Just keeps using it over and over again. Why not? And you've got Flash X to back you up there with the bright bulwark as well. Gankstars, 3-man in the lane for Von C. Whoa, that's a big crucible actually. That could be quite big for TSM, although Von C moving forward now does have Valkyrie available, just hit that level 6 mark. And has picked up that Shatter Glass. That's a big power spike for him. We'll see how they want to play around this one, because Gankstars, they aren't giving up too much ground too easily here. They've been very cautious about this.
Yeah, they definitely have, and we do have a gold lead for TSM, but Von C, you might be a little caught out here.
Yeah, he might be a little bit caught out, but I'd say maybe Gankstars are a little bit caught out here to nominate. Mac Daddy B and Xenotech had to run for the hills in that instance, and actually Lulu was forced back towards that turret as well. As Bestchuck's damage, a little bit too much than he can sustain against at the moment, even though he has picked up that Eve of Harvest first item.
And the Eve of Harvest is an interesting pick for the Samuel. Now, obviously, will provide him that energy sustain as well as the health sustain. Oh,
Xenotech's going to come in. Flash X a little bit caught. Oblivion is going to get blocked up here by TSM. They aren't going to be able to get too much off this apart from a couple of item usages and a cooldown. But Xenotech going in once again. Doesn't quite find Bestchuck NA. Still, Crucible down. What? Oh, right, okay. Xenotech, I spoke too soon. Hang on a second. He just falls down regardless. Valkyrie on C will help secure the kill.
Yeah, and that turret from Gankstars is taking quite a bit of damage as well, but unfortunately we don't really have a pushing power composition out of TSM, so they're not really able to get too much off that one kill. But Von C starting up this gold miner, looking to make sure they don't lose out on much, but it is Mac Daddy spotting it out. Jaws, don't know if he's going to be able to get this steal, and he's actually going to be forced back by just Flash X. So not even going to attempt to get that steal. That's going to give a huge spike of gold to TSM. They are going to pick up a bunch of useful items. Flash, obviously getting that fountain, went the Crucible first for the bigger heals on that Imperial Sigil. Bestchuck has that tornado trigger ready to go. This is kind of where Petal starts to spike. This is where Petal's going to start to have some sort of threatening presence in these fights.
This is the problem now, TSM. They are just going to start to ramp up and scale. Look at Von C coming online as well. These Valkyries are so hard hitting, and then you got to look at this hyper carry, quote unquote. Nice impale, 1 to 2 people though. I'll just interrupt myself real quick as Xenotech actually has to pop the fountain there to keep himself alive. Although, sorry, Mac Daddy B does. He's not the captain this time around. Ooh, Von C very close. Xenotech going very low. Oh, has to activate the fountain, but the trampoline basic attack from Bestchuck NA finishes him off regardless.
Yeah, again, this Petal build is really starting to come into its own, and now they're even looking for this turret. Will they find more?
Valkyrie comes down, Lulu in a lot of trouble. Carry, hyper carry, not so hyper right now. Gauntlet comes down, Mac Daddy B just trying to escape, but Von C, Bestchuck, they will jump on him and secure the kill as well as the turret.
Yeah, and TSM is looking all too good this game around. Their coordination in these fights has really stepped up since game number 1. Now, obviously, it's a very similar composition, so they've had a little bit of time to tinker with it. I'm not sure how practiced Bestchuck is with the weapon Petal. We've obviously seen TS7 and Tribe run it the most, but Bestchuck's looking pretty good on it right now, and you know, it is going to come down to the positioning. If he gets impaled by Xenotech, this low defense Petal, low health pool Petal is going to get blown up very easily. But again, I'm not sure Lulu's going to be able to find the follow-up damage if Bestchuck has those seedlings down. He hasn't put too many down overall, but you know, even one just blocking out a Malice Inverter could be huge. And now Flash, you're a little bit locked up here, buddy.
He's a little bit locked up, but Bestchuck NA going fairly aggressive. So all the cooldowns from the Lance were popped, so goes quite ham on Lulu and Xenotech. They're going to chase him down. Here comes the passageway into the Bright Bulwark. That's going to be a big stun from Xenotech. Valkyrie not used just yet on a couple of seconds cooldowns. They couldn't make use of that. Gangstar's still on the run though. And like you mentioned just not a second ago, Lulu, his damage is really not there to follow up at the moment. Von C, a little bit caught out though. Training Camp does actually go over to Xenotech. Does get Githian walled. He's sending out those spires. There's the Valkyrie. Actually only hits the Crystal Sentry. Xenotech with the re-engage a little bit too far forward. Oblivion comes through, but Bestchuck NA is going to be able to secure the kill anyway. Puts Flash X to sleep, but he can sleep on it because Bestchuck NA has got the damage.
Can you ever really sleep on Flash, though? The man is a shot-calling legend, and off the back of that, they do find a Xenotech, and now looking to head over to the shop. Bestchuck will be able to get that second tornado trigger after they get this gold mine. he has the golden pocket to do so, but obviously best to just help your team take this objective. And that's going to put Von C in a good position as well to get those boots upgraded, as well as Flash can start working towards those war treads. And that is going to be a huge spike for Lyra's heals on that Imperial Sigil. So, like I mentioned, Best Chuck has that second tornado trigger complete, but thanks to that gold mine has picked up an infusion as well. So the next fight for TSM that they pick, Chuck is going to do an absolutely absurd amount of damage. And, the damage comparison looking over at Gankstars is nowhere near that. I mean, it's a Sorrow Blade and an Infusion on Xenotech, and Lulu struggling to get to that third item at this point, which will be that Broken Myth.
Well, this is more looking like the TSM everybody knows and loves. Bit of an upset, obviously, last week. FlashX looking to go for a small engagement. Don't tease me, FlashX. I know you got that passageway. They did have a small upset against Nova, getting 2-0'd. Maybe coming back with a vengeance, like FlashX said, they are just one of these teams that can, time and time again, if they do end up just falling ever so slightly, they are able to just bring themselves back up, just recollect their thoughts as a team, and come back with style. And that's exactly what they're doing now with Best Chuck on this weapon power pedal. On their way as well, by the way, to a perfect game. Haven't lost a single objective just yet. And with a 7,000 gold lead at 11 minutes, Gankstars, they need to be able to pull the trigger. They need to just lock down this petal, but it just seems like impossible right now. Speaking of which, did lock down FlashX, but Xenotech goes very low. Look at that Valkyrie, that damage was too much. Lulu goes down before the gauntlet was even placed. FlashX is just pieced on out of there. Does use that passageway to just get out alive. Xenotech and Mac Daddy B, they're going to have to do some right defending, but it doesn't like TSM actually just going to rotate towards this Crystal Sentry now.
Yeah, and this is one thing that TSM does so well, is their objective control is pretty on point through most games that we watch. And I almost was about to say that, Mac Daddy dropped so low in that previous fight, he actually held the fountain, he didn't use it on himself, recalled, topped himself off, came back in, had that fountain for the fight, but the damage coming out of Best Chuck onto Lulu and onto Xenotech was just too huge. And now Lulu has committed into a little bit of armor, but it's going to take a little bit more than that if he wants to survive these fights. Again, the Samuel just not having the effect into the pedal that we'd like to see. I think, in fact, TSM, when they took down Tribe on that pedal pick, I think it was a Vox they were able to best the pedal on. So Samuel, again, just struggling in this position because those Munions make it so difficult for Lulu to find any damage, and now it's just going to be another gold mine going over to TSM. And, with a 10,000 gold lead here at 13 minutes, Jaws, I don't think there's much that the side of Gankstars can do, sort of a miracle play, a miracle kill onto Chuck, that they can turn this game around.
I think Mac Daddy B, what he needs to do, this is going to sound crazy to nominate, so,
I'm ready for it.
Watch over me before I just ascend into madness. Sell a couple of items, instantly buy an Echo, double gauntlet, hopefully catch Best Chuck. Bam. Bada bing, bada boom. You caught the bug, and he falls pretty instantaneously, right? You hope, at least, with Lulu's damage. That's the crazy plan. I mean, I'd do it. Don't think Gankstars are going to. I mean, you kind of want that Crucible, and you kind of want the Fountain as well, but maybe that's their out. Maybe they need to find that miracle fight, a miracle play, because Mac Daddy B, he's got the engage tools, but the Gauntlet has just been used defensively, I think 2 to 3 times now.
Yeah, I mean, it's had to, with the aggression that TSM has been putting on. It's been absolutely huge, and they're not done. Here comes another Gauntlet.
Gauntlet comes down, however, Vonsi was stunned up. FlashX is going to use his own reflex block to just get through it. Lulu on the sideline, selling out those Madison verdicts. They are chunking Vonsi out, but TSM, they have got the Lyra, so she will be able to heal up the rest of the squad in no time at all with that large health pool. Wall treads and all as well now. Gankstars still on the retreat. Best Chuck's damage. A little bit too much right now for Lulu to actually handle. Infusion picked up for Xenotech here. He wants to make something happen. He wants to make it happen now. Best Chuck gets jumped on. Fountain's going to get popped. Vonsi's on the back line already. The massive fountain usage, and a Valkyrie is going to stun up Mac Daddy B. Does get away, but Xenotech is already dead. They focus that turret down. TSM, they take a life. They take the turret, and they crack open the base of Gankstars.
And that fight was a perfect example of how Xenotech is the only threat for Best Chuck. The Impale came through. It was a third of his health. The follow-up basic attacks, the Githian wall, was able to drop Best Chuck low. but none of that damage was Lulu. And if you're not able to get both of your carries focused onto this pedal, there's just no way you're going to be able to lock pedal down long enough to find a kill. Yes, the Impale came through, but once that trampoline comes out, she's created distance from Lance, and it's very difficult for Xenotech to follow up the damage at that point, especially with Flash and Von C. Obviously, a lot of crowd control as well, helping lock down targets and getting Best Chuck basically free damage at that point. And this Kraken is being started up by TSM, and Von C gonna go ahead and secure that one. Jaws. Whoa!
Mac Daddy B. Best Chuck. Let's go. Gauntlet gets laid down. 1v1 me, bro. Right in the center of it. He doesn't need to. He's going to have to back off rather sharpish. Xenotech a little bit caught out as well. Von C going to use that ultimate, but Xenotech is going to be able to dash out of it, but he cannot dash away from that Spire. Kraken has been unleashed, and by the way, Von C pretty much soloed that with the Eve of Harvest, just regenerating himself. Not too much of a problem. Gankstars, I got a feeling this is their last nail in their coffin for this best of 3. They're on a knife's edge right now. Mac Daddy B needs to pull out a miracle, and he hasn't got the cooldowns to do it. Best Chuck and A takes 1 turret before the Kraken even gets there. TSM looking to end.
Yeah, TSM in a beautiful spot to end. Xenotech will come up, but this Kraken is still full health, Jaws. And now, here we go. Will TSM pull the trigger? They just gotta find Lulu.
Gotta find him. They can see exactly where he is, but they're just gonna look at the turrets for the time being. Best Chuck positioning behind that crystal. There's the Impale. Best Chuck does use that trampoline away. That crystal is falling faster than you can blink. TSM, they take game number 2, and they take the series over Gankstars.
Game number 2 and series going over to TSM. Gotta feel good to be a TSM fan today after that upsetting loss to Nova last week, but Best Chuck and Von C on the pedal and rhyme. Both games looked absolutely fantastic. Obviously tightening a couple things up from game number 1. Perfect game for them here though, Jaws.